What's up, you beautiful Redditors? Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. Welcome to the RNEWS morning show. And let's just jump into it. From r/news. Breonna Taylor grand jury members allowed to speak, judge says. Turns out it's actually what so many people suspected. The grand jury were only given the options of wanton endangerment with no more serious charges available to consider. The AG then misled the public into thinking the grand jury decided those were the most severe charges the grand jury supported. I love how the grand jury even asked about more severe crimes, like murder, but the AG was like, nah, don't worry your little heads over silly things like that. You don't need to think. Just do as we instruct. This proves the old adage, a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich, which means the DJ will indict whoever the prosecutor tells them to indict and nothing more. That whole academic discussion about how technically the DJ can go above and beyond and indict other people is nothing more than academic. The DJ is an extension of the prosecutor and never will go beyond what the prosecutors instruct. You can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich anytime a case fails proceed to trial. 99.99999% of the time, it was the prosecutor intentionally spiking it. A grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case said they were never asked to consider charges directly linked to her death. It's worse than that. They were told not to consider those charges in response to the grand jury's inquiry into if more severe charges can be laid. Why is it that every time you find yourself stepping into absolute filth, you find out there's a Republican behind it? You're watching the RNews show. From r/World News. Brits warned, do not take US meat at any cost, as poultry farm horror exposed. They would also inject said chickens with saline water to make the weight go up, which makes the cost go up. Remember that the next time you're buying a pack and going through a nutrition module for medical school. America has some scary food corporations. Almost tinfoil hat level scary. Edit. Can't answer everyone, since I'm deep in my tinfoil hat studies. But food corporations of America have a history of bad science for their benefit at the detriment of the health of the consumers. They're not trying to kill people, but they did cause damage. Cut out processed foods and sugary beverages. Eat more fruits and vegetables, and control caloric intake, and you'll be generally healthy. I'd expect nothing less from a capitalist consumerism country. Ethics will always take a back seat to the almighty dollar. That should be another clue leading us to that obvious conclusion. When it comes to food, let's eat local whenever it's possible. When it comes to food, let's eat local whenever it's possible sounds great. Except people in New York and Toronto want avocados. Britain imports 350,000 tons of potatoes a year from Israel, even though the most famous potato country on the planet is literally next door. It's more famous for not having enough potatoes than anything. Go vegan. You're watching the RNews show. From r/Politics. New York Times tax records show Trump maintains Chinese bank account. So Trump paid more in taxes to a foreign government than to the government he is the leader of. This man is not running to be president. He's running to avoid prison. And because he's a failure of a man, he will also fail at this. China is not a bad place for Trump to run to. There are lots of poor people to look down on. With COVID-19 controlled, there's no need to use a mask. And a great big wall runs all the way across it. Of course he does. And when you include Ivanka's Chinese patents and Jared's sale of real estate to someone with Chinese government contacts, it's all connected. This family is the most corrupt America has ever birthed. Please find the Russian accounts and put us all out of our misery. Don't forget that this is in the Steele dossier. It says Trump is happy to have the media chasing the Russia story because it keeps them from looking at China, where his corruption is much deeper. I knew the NYT had more on him. I'm willing to bet they're holding on to the really juicy stuff until next week too. They keep releasing it when it'll hurt the most. This is twice now, right before a debate. Just long enough for it to grab the news cycle and for people to begin digesting it before Trump goes on stage. They definitely have something saved for the days right before the election. You're watching the RNews show. From r/Politics. Democrat-run cities fuel the economy, keep many red states afloat. We know, considering how Republicans treat California and New York, I really wish they'd cut all funding to red states. I'm from Illinois. We border Kentucky and Indiana. which are among the most reliant on the federal government. Illinois is a giver state. Yet the takers complain about us and make our state seem like hell while taking our money. Yay, we know. We give way more money than we take. They take way more money than they asked us to give, and they spit in our faces all the while. I live in Chicago. Chicago is a top-tier city with $1 trillion economy. The rest of Illinois, the entire rest of the state, has an economy the size of Kazakhstan's. Ask anyone from outside of Chicago about their feelings about Chicago and they're absolutely convinced their gas station wages are keeping us afloat. And they're sick of it. Illinois, Indiana, a lot of Wisconsin and parts of Michigan would be an economic wasteland without Chicago. The entire Midwest really, but not according to the sisterfrickers living in those areas. To them, Chicago is a giant mooch and a crime-ridden crap hole. I know people that live less than 50 miles from the city. Haven't been here since the field trip in 4th grade and are totally convinced they'll be shot there moment they enter the city limits. It's insanity. New York City checking in. Frick every single Republican in a red state who whines like a dishonest putz about socialism. I want my tax dollars back, you fricking thieves. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/politics. Uniformed Miami cop spotted wearing pro-Trump mask near voting site will be disciplined. He'll get a slap on the wrist and then, when the press have left, a pat on the back. That's fricking ridiculous, man, and untrue. He'd also get a paid vacation while they target the murdered person's character and post every flattering picture of the shooter. Then a warning if anyone is still paying attention. I wonder how many conservatives who are pissed about pro-athletes bringing politics onto the field are equally as upset about this cop being political while in uniform. This situation has a different complexion. I mean, it pales by comparison. Uninformed too. Nah, he knew what he was doing. It was malaz, not ignorance. I think he's saying the guy is voting Trump cause he's uninformed. These no more bullcrap flags and masks are just ridiculous. Donald's presidency has been nothing but bullcrap. A constant, putrid, disgusting stream of gonorrhea. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/politics. The Trump campaign reportedly blew $1 billion on private jets, Trump properties, and on Junior's crappy book. Seems low. I'm sure there's more. He definitely has used his campaign for paying his legal fees, which is allowed, just so every Republican donor knows. If you donate to Trump, you're paying his lawyers to defend his sexual harassment cases. Must be why he is getting the DOJ involved in his private cases now as his lawyer. Republican megadonor Sheldon Adelson and his wife, Miriam, recently donated $75 million to Preserve America, a new pro-Trump super political action committee that is not controlled by Trump world political operatives. One of the reasons the group was founded in August is because there is deep distrust among some GOP donors that the existing pro-Trump organizations would spend the money wisely, so they want to re-elect a guy because he is a wildly successful businessman, but they don't trust him with their donated money. I'm sorry, but my liberal mind can't keep up with this superior logic. They don't trust him with their money. Less like blowing, and more like storing money in Trump properties. Asterisk laundering edit. Yes, the correct term is embezzling. Thank you for pointing it out. So basically finding ways to put it back into his own pocket, no surprise there. And that's where we're going to end today's show. But if you like what you saw, leave a like, and if you want to see more of the RNEWS show, hit that subscribe button. As always, this has been the RNEWS show and I'll see you tomorrow.